What are the three? So the three causes are Kleshagni. Now we are talking about the only the Klesh. Klesh means suffering. Okay. So suffering, the cause of suffering is what? Is a sinful activity. Papam. Now please let us once again focus. We are now discussing the first characteristic of pure devotional service, that is called as Kleshagni. And the meaning of Kleshagni is that devotional service has the capacity to immediately relieve us from all material distress. Now, it is very important to understand this concept, because if I ask all of us, including myself, and say that, are we free from material distress? So the honest answer is no. Then one may say, then how does pure devotional service is relieving us from material distress? So to understand that, we have to understand this concept, which Rupa Goswami has mentioned. Actually, it is relieving us from material distress. How? That will come to understand. So the suffering is, the cause of suffering, immediate cause is sinful activity. And why does one do sinful activity? Because he has that desire, or we'll say material desire, which is in the form of bijam. We understand this word, bijam. Bijam means seed form. So in the seed form, the desires are there, stored, which fructify in the form of sinful activity, and which results into suffering. Now one may ask the question, why I got this material desire? From where did material desire came? So material desire came from ignorance, or we can also call it as avidya. So material desires are coming because of ignorance. Ignorance about our identity, ignorance about the identity of the Supreme Lord, ignorance about our relationship with the Supreme Lord. All these things results into material desires. Material desires results into sinful activities, and sinful activities results into suffering. So now the point is, Srila Rupa Goswami will explain us that how the devotional service is actually the best means to obtain relief, because it is the only process which can counteract these 1, 2, and 3, all the three causes. Only devotional service has this potency. So for that, we should now understand that what is this sinful activity. So sinful activity also, he explains that actually it produces two reactions. So sinful activity, it produces two reactions. One is aprarabdha, and second prarabdha. Many of us have heard these words, isn't it? So now we are actually getting to understand what is the meaning of these words. So aprarabdha is which is not manifested. So and this is manifested. So in this particular thing, Devotee's statement is Shastric evidence that devotional service can eradicate prarabdha papa. So first result of our sinful activity is the body that we get. material body. And material body is manifested. Right now we are having a material body that is manifested. But there are many sinful activities done in the past which are not yet manifested. So they are in the form of stored reserve quota. And they will eventually manifest. So many times people ask, why do bad things happen to good people? Isn't it? So what is the answer to that? That yes, they are doing good right now, but something bad was done in the past, and that is now, which was unmanifest, and then it has become manifested. So that's why sometimes in the life of good people, something bad is observed. So that aprarabdha is turning into prarabdha. So basically, in short, we can say that the prarabdha is that which we are right now suffering. And aprarabdha is we are going to get in future about it. So simple example we can see that somebody has done thievery. Somebody has done thievery and he is caught. Then what happens? He gets the punishment. So thief caught means prarabdha. He gets punishment. And now just imagine there is thievery happened, but thief is not caught. So thief has done thievery, but he is not caught. But he will get punishment when he is caught. So that is aprarabdha. So this is how these two types of sufferings are there. So now let us go back and read what Srila Prabhupada has to say. And now Rupa Goswami will explain us, Srila Prabhupada will explain us through Rupa Goswami that devotional service has the power to eradicate this and this both. So now let us see this. So yes.
Prabhuji, if you could kindly just scroll up once, Prabhuji, before sinful activity. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, somebody can read relief from material distress.
Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, please.
In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that one should surrender unto Him, giving up all engagements. The Lord also gives His words there that He will protect surrendered souls from the reaction of all sinful activities. Srila Rupa Goswami says that the distresses from sinful activities are due both to the sins themselves and to sins committed in our past lives. Generally, one commits sinful activities due to ignorance, but ignorance is no
It's
excuse
7
for
o'clock.
Yes, go ahead.
but ignorance is no excuse for evading the reaction, sinful activity. Sinful activities are of two kinds.
Just a minute, Prabhu. So till now, whatever we read is what I have displayed on the screen. The suffering has sinful activity as a cause, which is material desire and ignorance. So these three things Srila Prabhupada has just now explained. Now sinful activity are of two kinds is what Srila Prabhupada is explaining this. Yes, go ahead.
Those which are mature and those which are not mature. The sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment are called mature. The many sinful activities stored within us for which we have not yet suffered are considered immature. For example, a man may have committed criminal acts but not yet been arrested for them. Now, as soon as he is detected, arrest is awaiting him. Similarly, for some of our sinful activities, we are awaiting distresses in the future. And for others, which are mature, we are suffering at the present moment. In this way, there
Okay.
is a child.
So,
Sorry.
so
Hare
here
Krishna.
then Prabhupada mentions some examples of things which we are suffering right now. So somebody who is deceased is example of matured sinful activity. Somebody who is ugly looking, somebody who is low born, and somebody who is having legal implications. So this is dull. So these four examples are being given by Srila Prabhupada of prarabdha or matured sinful reactions. Okay. Then let's go to next paragraph. There are many results.
Sorry, Babaji, just one question.
Yeah.
Now, when we say deceased, so that is basis the current karma what they have done that they are suffering now. But what about disease which an individual has?
This disease means a chronic disease. Actually, I wanted to mention
Chronic disease. Okay.
Yeah. So generally, disease we all get here and there, but when there is a chronic disease, that is actually some past sinful action, as per what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned here. One example.
So, Prabhuji, I have one question. So, diabetes, hypertension, such a diseases are also included in such a matured prarabdha?
Now, doctor is asking, what can I say? So, actually, when we say chronic, so you better know what is chronic. Sometimes diabetes in an initial stage, can it be called chronic or not? I don't know. Chronic means which is there for a long time, and even after doing many treatments, it's not going.
Or can we say like those diseases, those are congenital diseases that is having to the right from the birth. So that is included in this category.
Now, what is the point to be understood is that example of matured sinful activities. So if we go on analyzing for each one of them, then it will again, be a big thing. So I cannot clearly classify what can be considered here and what cannot be. But what we have to understand is, if somebody is having chronic disease, it may be any form, whether be congenial or afterwards it is coming or anyway. But if it is chronic, like I have seen or I have known that sometimes it happens that even after treatments from many doctors, it doesn't go. The disease doesn't go. And after a long time, suddenly somebody goes to some particular doctor, he takes medicine and it goes away. So generally we feel that treatment worked, but it could also be that the period of his suffering is over. His whatever suffering was supposed to get, that is over, and that's why it has now gone. So like this. Hope I am clear.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Mataji.
Yeah, somebody can read. There are many results of past sinful activities.
Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
There are many results of past sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment, and we may be suffering in the future due to our present sinful activities. But all of these reactions to sinful deeds can immediately be stopped if we take to Krishna consciousness. As evidence for this, Rupa Goswami quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 14th chapter, verse 19. This verse is in connection with Lord Krishna's instructions to Uddhava, where he says, "My dear Uddhava, devotional service unto me is just like a blazing fire which can burn into ashes, unlimited fuel supplied to it. The purport is that as the blazing fire can burn any amount of fuel to ashes, so devotional service to the Lord in Krishna consciousness can burn up all the fuel of sinful activities. For example, in the Gita, Arjuna thought that fighting was a sinful activity, but Krishna engaged him on the battlefield under his order, and so the fighting became devotional service. Therefore, Arjuna was not subjected to any sinful reaction. Shall I continue, Prabhu?
No, just do it. So here the verse from 11.14.19, it is referring to removal of aprarabdha, which are immature, sinful reactions. So these are burnt away, as it is mentioned in this verse. My dear Uddhava, devotional service unto me is just like blazing fire, which can burn into ashes, unlimited fuel supplied to it. So this is regarding aprarabdha.
Prabhuji, is it prarabdha or aprarabdha?
Oh, sorry, aprarabdha. Aprarabdha. I have written aprarabdha. By mistake, I said prarabdha. Okay. Now, the second about prarabdha. That is explained in the next paragraph. Somebody can read it?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can.
Yes, please.
Srila Rupa Goswami quotes another verse from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, third chapter, verse 6, in which Devahuti addresses her son Kapila Dev and says, "My dear Lord, there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, beginning from hearing and chanting. Anyone who hears about your pastimes, who chants about your glories, who offers your obeisances, who thinks of you, and in this way executes any of the 9 kinds of devotional service. Even if he is born in a family of dog eaters, the lowest grade of mankind becomes immediately qualified to perform sacrifices. As such, how is it possible that anyone actually engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness has not become purified? It is not possible. One who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service has without a doubt becomes freed from all contaminations of material sinful activities. Devotional service therefore has the power to actually nullify all kinds of reaction to sinful deeds. A devotee is nevertheless always alert not to commit any sinful activities. This is his specific qualification as a devotee. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam states that by performing devotional service, a person who was born even in family of dog eaters may become eligible to take part in the performance of ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. It is implicit in his statement that a person born into a family of dog eaters is generally not fit for performing yajna or sacrifice. The priestly caste in charge of performing these ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas is called the Brahmana order. Unless one is a Brahmana, he cannot perform these ceremonies. A person is born in. Sure.
So now this verse 3.33.6 is explaining that how prarabdha is also removed. Now prarabdha, as I mentioned, is what? The manifested sinful activity. So one of the reason of getting low birth, as we discussed some time back, is some kind of sinful activity. So low birth is a manifestation of sinful reaction. And because somebody is born in low birth, naturally he doesn't get the what we call it as the circumstances or the samskaras wherein he can actually perform the Vedic ritualistic sacrifices. So generally the higher orders, Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya, if somebody is born in those families, then they get those samskaras, then they qualify themselves and then they do it. So here the point is not that because somebody is born low, so he is disqualified. But somebody is born low, then he doesn't get the opportunity also to even get himself purified. So that is a point being discussed. That has to be very clearly understood. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada has many times told us that birth is not the criteria. So we are not talking about somebody getting low birth and is disqualified. The point is that somebody is getting low birth. That's why generally he doesn't get the opportunity to qualify himself. The circumstances are like that. But in case, if it happens that such a person who is born in a very low family, like that of a dog eater, as explained here by Devahuti. So then what happens is, if he takes up to devotional service, by some means, he gets in contact with devotees, he takes to devotional service, then what happens is, actually he transcends everything and he becomes more than a Brahmana. He becomes Vaishnava, which is more than a Brahmana. And in that sense, he becomes fit to perform Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. At the same time, it is not that after becoming a devotee, he suddenly starts performing yajna. Just now, in our temple in NVCC Pune, for last 40 days, a course is going on yajna training, Nitya Homa. A team from Mayapur have come, devotees have come, and they are training the devotees for yajna, how to perform yajna. So here, nobody is asked from which family you are coming, what is your birth. That things are not asked. They are all devotees, so everyone is invited. Whoever would like to participate are invited. They are participating, they are learning the process, they are learning the mantras, and then they are giving the exams, and then qualifying themselves, and then they are going and performing the sacrifices. So this is what has been explained, that if somebody is even born low, still by power of devotional service, he is actually much more better than even a qualified Brahmana. So that is the power of devotional service. And that's how he is actually nullifying his prarabdha karma also.
So, Prabhuji, the individuals who perform yajna, in that case, do they then get qualified as a Brahmana?
They are more than Brahmana. That's what I'm saying. And again, same point. Yeah, one thing is good that you brought up this point. So whoever are already initiated as Vijay by a spiritual master, having a Brahman thread, a sacred thread, and performing Gayatri, only they are allowed in this course. So that is the first criteria, that they should be twice initiated by the spiritual master, like that. So the point what I'm trying to say is that even if somebody is born low, but if he gets the circumstances, if he gets the association of devotees and becomes a devotee, then he transcends actually his the prarabdha which he was having. The prarabdha was limiting him to certain things. But now by performance of devotional service, that limit has been broken. At the same time, even though that limit is broken, he doesn't go haywire and do anything and everything, whatever he wants. Because ultimately, devotee is a cultured gentleman, as explained by Srila Prabhupada. So he will follow the social and scriptural norms and do according to that way only. So then he will qualify himself as a Brahmana, accept a sacred thread from a spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master. Then he will also qualify himself as a yajna priest by taking up such courses and learning. And then he actually performs Vedic sacrifices. So this way we see that even the prarabdha is removed by devotional service. And then,
Prabhuji,
yes.
I have one question.
Yes.
And those are in the Brahman family, and those are not performing Krishna consciousness or not or involved in the mundane activities. So it is because of their aprarabdha. So it is because of their aprarabdha. They have performed in the past, and though they are born in the Brahmana family, are not performing Krishna consciousness activities and involved in mundane activities.
See, now that point will come in this book ahead, that who is qualified to take up to devotional service. And that is not because somebody has got a Brahmana birth. That is certainly not the qualification. The qualification is faith. That will come later on. So if somebody is just born in Brahman family, does not mean that he will also become a devotee. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. So then, further ahead, Rupa Goswami also explains us that how papam, that is the sinful activity, results in a prarabdha, that is unmanifested reaction. And eventually this unmanifested reaction turns into what? Can anybody tell? This unmanifested reaction turns into what?
Manifested one.
Yes, that is prarabdha. This aprarabdha turns into prarabdha. At the same time, this aprarabdha also turns into one component, which is called as putam. Putam is nothing but the sinful inclination. So this aprarabdha also turns into kutam. Kutam is what? Sinful inclination. And then this sinful inclination turns into bijam. That is sinful desires. And then this bija, when it fructifies, it turns into sinful activity. I hope everyone is going good with me. Everyone is with me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So, see,
Hare Krishna,
Papa.
Prabhuji.
Yes.
Can you explain about sinful inclination, Prabhuji? Kutam.
Yeah, we'll come to it now.
Okay,
Sinful
Prabhuji.
inclination means tendency to perform sinful activity. That is sinful inclination. So this papam, when somebody does sinful activity, let us see a simple sinful activity of thievery. Somebody does thievery. So immediately what happens? A reaction is stored for him. Now he is going to get punishment. So he gets the punishment when he is caught. When the thief is caught, he gets the punishment, that is prarabdha. But when he does this sinful activity, he also gets the inclination to do further thievery. When he is not caught, what happens is, he does the thievery and he says, oh, very good. Now I have done this. I will do something more next time. He gets the confidence. And then he develops a desire. Then what shall I do now? Okay, I went to this house this time. I will go to that bigger house next time. And that way he cultivates this sinful desire because of that inclination. Now, even though he is caught, still, because of this inclination, what happens is he feels, no, this time I did something wrong. Next time I'll be more careful. And that's how he performs this sinful, that's how he still have that sinful desire. And then he goes on performing the sinful activity again. This is how this cycle continues. One performs sinful activity. As a result, the reaction is stored. Some part of reaction gets manifested. Some part of reaction turns into further sinful inclination. That turns into sinful desire. And that sinful desire leads to sinful activity. Okay? Is it clear? So this verse comes in Padma Puran. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijan phalonmukham. That is, aprarabdha gives rise to kutam bijam phala. Kutam is this, bijam is this, and phala means the result. That is prarabdha. So these four things are there: aprarabdha, kutam, bijam, and phala. Phala is prarabdha. So all these things kramena eva praliyate. That verse says kramena eva means one by one, all of them goes away by a performance of devotional service. Okay? Is everyone with me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Now, one of the important point to understand here is that the material desires, these are very strong things. The sinful desires or the material desires are very, very strong. There are some sections of Karma Kanda which mentions that if you perform some sinful activity, then you have to do some kind of prayashchitta. Like all of us might have heard that if somebody kills a cat, then he has to give similar weight of gold to a brahmana or something like that. And if you don't do that, then you get that result of that sinful activity. But Karma Kanda may offer solution to some kind of sinful activity, and for that particular sinful activity we may be saved. But Karma Kanda doesn't offer solution for sinful desires. So that is what devotional service is very special, because it relieves one from sinful desires only. अगर डिजायर ही नहीं रहेंगे तो एक्टिविटी कहाँ से करेगा? There is no desire, then where from the activity will come? So that's how at the root, devotional service removes things at the root, not just immediate this thing. So this is how devotional service is so special.
Prabhuji,
And then,
sorry,
yes.
one question, Prabhuji. You said Karma Kanda offers solution for sinful acts,
Yes,
not for the desires.
yes.
But the acts comes in basis the desire which one has, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Let's say again the example of thievery. So thievery, if somebody does a sinful act, this is a sinful act. And there may be some solution in Karma Kanda mentioned. Now you have
But
done
that sinful act is being done only because of the desire that he wants to do a thievery, right?
Correct. So that's what I'm saying, that once that thief has done that activity, now as a prayaschitta, he is told that do this, do that. So the result of that particular thievery will not affect him because of the prayaschitta which he did. But with that sinful activity of thievery, now see the screen. Although he has avoided this prarabdha with karma kand,
Right.
but he cannot avoid this. So the thievery also led to further sinful inclinations. That karma kand cannot remove.
Got it.
Prabhuji, can we consider devotional service as a preventive and karma kanda as a reactive?
Yeah, you can say like that. It is not, it is both actually. Devotional service is somewhere Srila Prabhupada says, what are the word? There are medical terms. I forgot the words. Maybe Dr. Prabhu can tell. Prophylactic, or one more word is there. I think something like that.
Antiseptic and prophylactic.
No, not antiseptic. There are two words different. Anyways, but something like that. What you can consider. If I get the reference, I'll find out and share on WhatsApp to Sanjay. So, so that is how this is what devotional service is so special, because it completely negates. Now, if we see very practical example in the lives of devotees, or in our own lives, we can say, if some of us were from a background where we were performing some kind of sinful activities, the four illicit activities which Srila Prabhupada has told us not to do. So it may happen that some of us were engaged in those or one of those sinful activity. So now, after coming to devotional service, do we have desire to do that? We don't have any desire to do that. There may be some little bit of inclination may be there, but certainly we don't have desire. It's not that we want, oh, let me again do this. No, we don't want. But inclination may be there to some extent, which will also go eventually. That's why we said in that verse of Padma Puran, it is said, Kramenaiva. Kramenaiva means what? Gradually. Gradually it's going to go. And Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example to understand this concept. Prabhupada says, we turn on a fan when there is hot season. And the fan is running. But as soon as we switch off the fan, does the blades of the fan stop at that moment? No. They continue for some time with that inertia and gradually come to a halt. And Prabhupada explains similarly, when we have come to devotional service, means we have put off the switch. But some little bit inclinations remains, that running of the fan continues for some time. And eventually it will certainly stop. But then again, Srila Prabhupada has guarding us. Very important point in this particular paragraph. A devotee, somewhere in the middle, a devotee, or some last part, devotee is nevertheless always alert not to commit any sinful activities. So although we know now that we are saved by devotional service, still the devotee is very, very careful that henceforth I will not commit. Okay?
Prabhuji, so does it also mean that even just the thought of doing something will also earn us prarabdha and aprarabdha, or is it just the action?
Yes, that's a very good question. And welcome to the age of Kali. In this Kali, there's one big benediction.
Boom.
That whatever is thought as a sinful activity doesn't get fructified. But whatever is thought as a good activity is given the benefit. So that is a very, very good news for all of us. But at the same time, again, as Srila Prabhupada is guarding us, we should still be very, very careful that even at the thought only we should nip off all those sinful desires. So that is our duty as devotees. Okay. So then okay, now we'll go to the paragraph. Somebody can read. In this connection, Shukadev Goswami. Because before that, whatever was there, I have already explained in the form of this table, which is shown on the screen. Please go ahead.
May I read? Can I read?
Please. Yes.
In this connection, Shukadev Goswami speaks in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, verse 17, about the story of Ajamila, who began life as a fine and dutiful Brahmana, but in his young manhood manhood become wholly corrupted by a prostitute. At the end of his wicked life, just by calling the name Narayana, Krishna, he was saved despite so much sin. Sukadev, uh, Sukadeva point out that the austerity, charity, and the performance of the ritualistic ceremonies for the counteracting sinful activities are recommended processes, but that by performing them one cannot remove the sinful desired seed from the heart, as was the case with Ajamala in his youth. This sinful desire seed can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness, and this can be accomplished very easily by chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna mantra as recommended by Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, unless one adopts the path of devotional service, he cannot be 100% clean from all the reactions of sinful activities. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. So this paragraph describes how bijam is removed. That is the sinful desires. So we saw that example of Ajamila is being given over here. Yes, next paragraph.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, by performing very ritual activities, by giving money in charity, and by undergoing charity, one can temporarily become free from the reactions of sinful activities. But at the next moment, he must again become engaged in sinful activity. For example, a person suffering from venereal disease on excessive indulgent sex life has to undergo some severe pain in medical treatment, and he is then cured for a time being. But because he has not been able to remove the sex desire from his heart, he must again indulge in the same thing and become victim of same disease. So medical treatment may give temporary relief from the disease of such venereal diseases. But unless one is trained to understand that sex life is abnormal, it is impossible to save from such repeated disease. Similarly, the ritualistic performance says charity and austerity, which are recommended in Vedas, may temporarily stop one from the acting in sinful way. But as long as the heart is not clean, one will have to repeat sinful activities again and again.
So, Srila Prabhupada sometimes also gives the examples of some people of different faiths. They have a system that once in a week they will go and offer some money and get freed from their sinful activity of the whole week. And then Prabhupada says, but what is the use? Again, they continue their sinful activity in the next week. So then that means their desire for doing sinful activity has not gone. They are just counteracting by giving some money to the priest. But actually, their desire is not going. So same thing is applied to these Vedic ritualistic performances or charity or austerity or whatever things which are mentioned in Vedas that may temporarily stop one either from acting sinfully or from counteracting for some sinful activity he has done. But because the heart is not purified, then he will continue performing sinful activity. Whereas in devotional service, what happens is hearts get purified. Yes, Sanjay Guru.
Prabhuji, one question, Prabhuji. In the form of charity, when we say if you give charity now, for example, say you give it to a beggar who's coming at the traffic light and you're giving the individual charity. Now that leads to gaining a karma, but at the same time, charity over here we say that when you offer charity, it helps you to get freed from the prarabdha. So what is the best way to give charity so that we don't fall into this trap of prarabdha? At the same time, one is freed from the cycle, vicious cycle.
One thing we have to understand that Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions yajna dana tapa na tyajet manishina. That even great people don't give up yajna dana and tapa. Now, the very core understanding behind dana or charity is what? That you don't, whatever you are accruing, don't use everything for yourself. Learn to give to others also. That is the principle behind charity. So, if somebody is giving charity to anyone, that is good. Then later on, it comes that, as mentioned by Krishna, that where the charity has to be given. So, charity is also in 3 modes. That is also mentioned by Krishna. So, then you have to find out qualified person at a suitable time, without any expectations. That is the best kind of charity. Mentioned by, not best kind of, it is charity in mode of goodness. And best kind of charity, as we saw in the preface of this book, that Rupa Goswami saved whatever saving was there, 50% he gave to whom?
Krishna consciousness.
Relatives and friends.
Brahmanas and Vaishnavas.
Brahmanas and
consciousness.
Vaishnavas. He gave in the service of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas 50% of his wealth. Just imagine. And whatever after that 25% he gave to relatives, and 25% he kept in emergency.
Medical emergency.
But again, we see that that emergency was nothing for himself, but for deliverance of Sanatan Goswami. So that was also for others only. But the point is that we have to understand this concept of charity is very important for every human being. And whatever he does is good. But now what we are talking here, that also to be understood very clearly. We are not talking about whether charity is good or not. We are talking whether you are relieved from the sinful desire by charity or not. So that is not possible. Only devotional service will relieve you from all kinds of material desires, not by giving charity. Okay?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Thank you.
And then Prabhupada explains here about this venereal disease. Again, the same thing. So the disease is cured, but the desire is not gone. So he again engages in the same activity, and again has to undergo the same suffering, like that. And now then further Prabhupada gives another example of Srimad Bhagavatam, that elephant bathing, Kunjara Shauchavat. What is that? The elephant goes into the water, he bathes nicely, and comes out and puts all the mud around him, all over his body. So then what is the use of his bathing? So then Prabhupada mentioned that all these activities, which ritualistic activities, they are like this. People go to some holy place, take bath in the river, and they are very conscious there. And when they come back, they again continue their life, back to square one. So it is like that. You go, get purified, and again put the mud all over your body. So what is the use of this kind of prayashchitta? Yes, there is another evidence. Somebody can read this.
There is another evidence in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 22nd chapter, verse 39, wherein Sanat Kumara says, "My dear king, the false ego of a human being is so strong that it keeps him in material existence, and if tied up by a strong rope, only the devotees can cut off the knot of this strong rope very easily by engaging themselves in Krishna consciousness. Others who are not in Krishna consciousness but are trying to become great mystics or great ritual performers cannot advance like the devotees. Therefore, it is the duty of everyone to engage himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness in order to be freed from the tight knot of false ego and engagement in material activities."
Yeah, so this describes that how even ignorance is destroyed by Krishna consciousness. And then last paragraph, somebody can read.
Prabhuji, may I read?
Yes.
This tight knot of false ego is due to ignorance. As long as one is ignorant about his identity, he is sure to act wrongly and thereby become entangled in material contamination. This ignorance of factual knowledge can also be dissipated by Krishna consciousness, as is confirmed in the Padma Purana as follows. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the highest enlightenment. And when such enlightenment is there, it is just like a blazing forest fire, killing all the inauspicious snakes of desire. The example is being given in this connection that when there is a forest fire, the extensive blazing automatically kills all the snakes in the forest. There are many snakes on the ground of the forest, and when a fire takes place, it burns the dried foliage, and the snakes are immediately attacked. Animals who have four legs can flee from the fire or can at least try to flee, but the snakes are immediately killed. Similarly, the blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snakes of ignorance are immediately killed. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So here the verse from Padma Purana is being mentioned that just like blazing fire kills all inauspicious snakes of desire. Similarly, Krishna consciousness is the highest enlightenment, which kills or destroys all ignorance. So Prabhupada is mentioning the first line, as long as one is ignorant about his identity, he is sure to act wrongly and thereby become entangled in material contamination. So remember, we saw the first discussion that how the suffering is happening because the root cause is ignorance. Because of ignorance, we are acting wrongly, or we are getting material desires and we are acting wrongly and we are suffering. So now you can understand that how devotional service is actually kleshagni. So now one may ask again the same question, but then why I am still suffering? So the answer is simple. The prarabdha is not destroyed altogether at once. If the prarabdha, the manifested, is destroyed at once, then we will have to leave the body. Because body is also the result of prarabdha. So then Krishna allows it to remain so that in this particular body, we can perfect our life. If that is not done, then we cannot perfect our life and we cannot completely become Krishna conscious. Okay? Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
So we are suffering. This body is also a result of prarabdha karma and all that. So if we do perfect devotional service, then next birth will be taking at a much higher birth.
Correct.
But in that birth also, again, there would be sufferings, no, Prabhu? Even in the higher birth, who takes birth in higher families or well-educated or rich and all that, they will also undergo sufferings and all that.
Yeah, so that's why we saw that what is the desire of a devotee? In the beginning only we saw. What is there mentioned?
To please Krishna, to serve Krishna.
To remain engaged in service of Krishna. That is the desire of devotee. It doesn't matter in which body he is, or what are the circumstances, or whether he is in hell or heaven. That doesn't matter to him. Just like King Kulashekara prays, Divi va bhuvi va mamastu vaso narake va narakantaka prakamam avadhirita sharadara vindayo charanau te marane pichintayami. He says, I may stay in hell or heaven, or whether in day or night, whatever it is, let me always remember you, my Lord. So that is the desire of devotee. He is not worried what he is going to get next birth, whether it is rich, low, or whether even we see Bhaktivedanta Thakur, what he is praying, that let me become a dog in the next life near a devotee's house. That is his desire. Why? So that devotees will eat prasad and throw their remnants. So I will get that and I will be satisfied. So this is the highest aspiration a devotee has. But right now, we are not so pure to have this kind of aspiration. So we should at least aspire to become pure and go back home, back to Godhead. And that's why Srila Prabhupada was always stressing that mold your life in such a way that you will perfect your life and go back home, back to Godhead. And the result of somebody becoming fit, going back to home, back to Godhead is then his consciousness is so elevated that it doesn't matter where he is. So when he becomes so perfect, then he is not worried that whether I will go back to Godhead or not. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Any other question? Okay, so we'll move to the next. That is, the second one is Shubhada. Shubhada means one which gives all auspiciousness. So now how devotional service is giving all auspiciousness? If something has to be considered giving all auspiciousness, it should have following four features. One is, it is beneficial to all. Second is, it is attractive to all. Third is, it develops saintly qualities. And fourth is, it delivers happiness. So if these four things are there in something, then we can say that it is giving all auspiciousness. So then now, understanding this, we will read what Prabhupada has to say. Yes, somebody can say, read.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Please.
Srila Rupa Goswami has given a definition of auspiciousness. He says that actual auspiciousness means welfare activities for all the people of the world. At the
Means
present
beneficial
moment,
to all. That means beneficial to all. Yes.
At the present moment, groups of people are engaged in welfare activities in terms of society, community, or nation. There is even an attempt in the form of United Nations for a World Health activity. But due to shortcomings of limited national activities, such a general mass welfare program for the whole world is not practically possible. The Krishna conscious movement, however, is so nice that it can render the highest benefit to the entire human race. Everyone can be attracted by this movement and everyone can feel the result. Therefore, Rupa Goswami and the other learned scholars agree that a broad propaganda program for the Krishna consciousness movement of devotional service all over the world is the highest humanitarian welfare activity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Somebody can read next paragraph. So this was beneficial to all. This paragraph explained this, that how Krishna consciousness is beneficial to all because it gives the highest benefit to entire human race. In fact, not just human race, but all living entities. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Semi-final, a couple hours away.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Okay. How the Krishna consciousness movement can attract the attention of the whole world, and how each and every man can feel pleasure in this Krishna consciousness is stated in the Padma Purana as follows. A person who is engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness is to be understood to be doing the best service to the whole world and to be pleasing everyone in the world. In addition to human society, he is pleasing even the trees and animals because they also become attracted by such a movement. A practical example of this was shown by Lord Chaitanya when he was traveling through the forest of Jharkhand in the central India for spreading his Sankirtana movement. The tigers, the elephants, the deer, and all the other wild animals joined him and were practicing in their own ways by dancing and chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
So this is how it is explained, that even not just human society, but even the trees and animals. So two things are explained at one time. First and second point, beneficial to all and attractive to all. So here it is mentioned that how this can be attracted by everyone. And the example is of Lord Chaitanya attracting the wild animals in the forest of Jharkhand. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so now these two things are covered, first and second. Now in the third paragraph, developing saintly qualities is explained. Yeah. Third and fourth.
Furthermore, a person engaged in Krishna consciousness, acting in devotional service, can develop all good qualities that are generally found in the demigods. It is said by Sukadeva Goswami in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 18th chapter, verse 12. My dear king, persons who have unflinching faith in Krishna and are without any duplicity can develop all the good qualities of the demigods. On account of a devotee's high grade of Krishna consciousness, even the demigods like to live with him, and therefore it can be understood that the qualities of the demigods have developed within his body. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, on the other hand,
Krishna Prabhuji. On the other hand, a person who is not in Krishna consciousness has no good qualities. He may be highly educated from the academic point of view, but in the actual field of his activities, he can be seen to be baser than the animals. Even though a person is highly educated academically, if he cannot go beyond the sphere of mental activities, then he is sure to perform only material activities and thus remain impure. There are so many persons in the modern world who have been highly educated in the materialistic universities, but it is seen that they cannot take up the moment of Krishna consciousness and develop the high qualities of the demigods.
यस्यास्ति भक्तिर्भगवत्या किंचन सर्वैर्गुणैस्तत्र समासते सुरः. This is the verse from the 5th canto, 18th chapter, verse 12, in the previous paragraph which was mentioned. That one who has unflinching faith in Krishna, then he can develop sarvair gunais tatra samasate suraha. Suraha are demigods. Sarva and all the good qualities can be developed. हराव भक्तस्य कुतो महद्गुणा मनोरथेन सति धावतो बहिः. But if somebody is not a devotee of the Lord, harav bhaktasya kuto mahadguna, then whatever he may have, as Prabhupada is mentioned in this current paragraph, on the other hand, he may be very big person, he may be highly educated, everything, but if he is not a devotee, then what happens? Then he will not have cleared up his material desires, and that's why he may be engaging in sinful activity. Externally, he may be very clean, he may be very nicely dressed, everything will be good. But when it comes to talk of his activities, as Prabhupada mentions, that sometimes it can be seen that they are baser than animals, means lower than animals. And that we are seeing in today's world, how people are acting actually lower than animal. They are even giving up the platform of animal. They are going beyond, below that. So that's why such kind of thing is of not of any use. Yeah. Next paragraph. For
Can I read,
example,
Prabhu?
a conscious boy, even if he is not very well educated by the universal standard, can immediately give up all illicit sex life, gambling, meat eating, and intoxication Whereas those who are not in Krishna consciousness, all the very educated, are often drunkards, meat eaters, sex mongers, and gamblers. These are practical proofs of how a Krishna conscious person becomes highly developed in good qualities, whereas person who is not in Krishna consciousness cannot do so. We experience that even a young boy in Krishna consciousness is unattached to cinemas, nightclubs, naked dance shows, restaurants, liquor shops, etc. He becomes completely free. He saves his valuable time from being extravagantly spent in the way of smoking, drinking, attending the theater, and dancing. Just see how a Krishna conscious person can save lot of time and perform Krishna consciousness. So we all also, one time, if we see very carefully our own life, uh, we cannot imagine ourselves chanting 16 rounds 10, 15 years back, whatever our situation was that time. And how are we doing now? Because of this, because of getting Krishna consciousness, we have given up all those things, and now there is time for us. And that's why people outside, they get a big shock to hear the 2 hours of chanting. My God. Because they don't have time. Because they have so many other activities to do, which are of no use. But Krishna consciousness offers this saintly qualities, and that's how person engages himself more and more in Krishna consciousness. Yes. Last paragraph.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Please.
One who is not in Krishna consciousness usually cannot sit silently even for half an hour. The yoga system teaches that if you become silent, you will realize that you are God. This system may be alright for materialistic persons, but how long will they be able to keep themselves silent? Artificially, they may sit down for so called meditation, but immediately after their yogic performance, they will engage themselves again in such activities as illicit sex life, gambling, meat eating, and many other nonsensical things. But a Krishna conscious person gradually elevates himself without endeavoring for this so called silent meditation. Simply because he is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he automatically gives up all this nonsense and develops a high character. One develops the highest character by becoming a pure devotee of Krishna. The conclusion is that no one can truly have any good qualities if he is lacking Krishna consciousness.
So now, this regarding artificial silence, there is some technique also where people go and they for 1 week or 10 days, they just maintain silence and all.
Vipassana.
Vipassana. Correct. We generally don't take names. But anyways, all devotees are here, so not a problem. So they stay there for some time, and but then after coming back, if you ask them, how did you feel? Oh, it was very nice, But their normal life again begins after they are back, And then again they have to go after 6 months or 1 year to again experience some so-called bliss. So, but this kind of thing will not help, for a long time. If some strong current comes in the material world, then they will be swayed away and they will forget Vipassana for ever. So that is a problem. So now next point is about the
It's 8 o'clock.
that it delivers happiness. So this is explained that there are 3 types of happiness. One is Parthiv Sukh or material happiness, which comes from sense gratification. And then the second is that comes from liberation and Brahman realization. And then the third, that which comes from devotional service. So this also includes sense gratification and heavenly pleasure. So Parthiva Sukh and Swargiya Sukh. Parthiv is the body, the pleasure coming from body, that is sense gratification. And Swargiya is heavenly pleasure. In heaven, the pleasure experienced in heaven. And second is that happiness comes from liberation and Brahman realization. And third is happiness that is coming from devotional service. Now, when we are talking about Shubhada, that is devotional service is all auspiciousness. And one of the characteristic is that it delivers happiness. So then you have to also know that the happiness from devotional service surpasses the other two. So how it surpasses? Because devotee is already liberated. Liberated from what? Liberated from the identification to the material world. He no more identifies himself with material world. He no more identifies himself with the material body. And that's how he is already liberated. And second, this is now regarding liberation, regarding senses. His senses are what? Senses are what?
Senses are pure.
Because of what?
Control. His senses
The
are
control.
for Krishna, for Krishna's gratification. He uses his senses for Krishna's gratification.
Yeah, senses are engaged.
Engaged or under control, yeah.
Senses are engaged in service of Krishna. So because of this, the happiness which is derived from devotional service is surpassed. And the third thing is, both these happiness are included in devotional service. It includes happiness of liberation and sense gratification. And the fourth thing is, happiness of devotional service is eternal. Eternal mainly because of the identity of Krishnera Nitya Das. So now, what Prabhupada has done in the next heading, Happiness in Krishna Consciousness, he has given these three explanations, 1, 2, and 3. And then he has also explained about the fourth, the fourth characteristic of pure devotional service, which is nothing but it belittles liberation. devotional service. It means devotional service belittles liberation. Moksha laguta prut. That was the fourth one. So in the initial part of this book, in the title Happiness in Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada talks about these three types of happiness. And then the later part of this heading, Prabhupada explains this point.
Prabhuji, the third one, Moksha, Laguta and?
Moksha Laguta Krit.
Krit.
Krit means does. Devotional service does belittles liberation. So then the title, Happiness in Krishna Consciousness, Srila Rupa Goswami has analyzed different sources of happiness in three categories. Happiness derived from material enjoyment, happiness derived by identifying oneself with Supreme Brahman, and happiness derived from Krishna Consciousness. In Tantra Shastra, Lord Shiva speaks to his wife Sati in this way. My dear wife, a person who has surrendered himself at the lotus feet of Govinda and who has thus developed pure Krishna consciousness can be very easily awarded all the perfections desired by the impersonalist, and beyond this he can enjoy happiness achieved by the pure devotees. So here immediately Rupa Goswami giving example that yeah, so one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning of our talk, that this book Rupa Goswami has presented in a very wonderful way. What is his presentation? That he puts some argument and then he immediately gives a reference from the scriptures. The entire book is like that only. So everything he will present some point and then he will give some reference from the scripture. So it's an amazing way of presenting the book. And so that's why it becomes very authentic. So now here the same thing. He is mentioning that happiness is divided into three categories and the happiness derived from Krishna consciousness is highest. Immediately from Tantra Shastra, Lord Shiva is speaking to his wife Sati that Krishna consciousness can be very easily awarded all perfections desired by impersonalists. And beyond this, he can enjoy happiness achieved by pure devotees. So what are these perfection desired by impersonalists is explained by Srila Prabhupada in the further paragraphs. So as we saw, happiness derived from pure devotion is highest because it is eternal. So all these points 1, 2, 3, 4 are mentioned here by Srila Prabhupada. So we are not going into this reading, but I would request all of you to please, after the class, you go back and read this everything word by word. And then now we will see that what Lord Shiva is mentioned to his wife, that the perfections desired by impersonalists, that is called as Ashta Siddhi. You might have heard this. So Prabhupada also starts explaining that from the fourth paragraph. The mystic perfections achieved by successful yogis are in 18 number, and he explains all that. Anima Siddhi and all those. And then Prabhupada is so wonderfully presenting. He mentions that modern scientific improvements. Yeah, somebody can read this paragraph. It's very good. The mystic perfections achieved.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
The mystic.
Yeah, please go ahead.
The mystic perfections achieved by actually successful yogis are 8 in number. Anima Siddhi refers to the power by which one can become so small that he can enter into a stone. Modern scientific improvements also enable us to enter into stone because they provide for excavating so many subways, penetrating the hills, etc. So Anima Siddhi, the mystic perfection of trying to enter into stone, has also been achieved by material science. Similarly, all of the yoga siddhis or perfections or material arts. For example, in one yoga siddhi, there is development of the power to become so light that one can float in the air or on water. That is also being performed by modern scientists. They are flying in the air, they are floating on the surface of the water, and they are traveling under the water.
So similarly, one of the siddhi is prapti. That whatever you desire, you immediately get it. So today, in today's world, we have so many platforms of Blinkit and this and that, So you just desire, and within few minutes, that thing is in your home. So modern science is going hand in hand with eight perfection siddhis, They are also competing with that and trying to provide. So then, all these explanations Srila Prabhupada is giving. Prapti Siddhi and this Siddhi and that Siddhi, and how modern scientists are also going hand in hand with that. So I'll request all of you to please read this very carefully later. Yeah, and this way, then this concludes. Now, in Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, you can read this. And please don't ask me if you shall I read or not. You just unmute and start reading. Okay? In Hari Bhakti Sudodaya.
Hare Krishna Babuji. In Haribhakta Subodhaya, it is stated that Prahlad Maharaj, a great devotee of the Lord, prayed to Narsimadev, the half-lion, half-man incarnation as follows. My dear Lord, I repeatedly pray unto your lotus feet that I may simply be stronger in devotional service. I simply pray that my Krishna consciousness may be strong and steady. Because happiness derived out of Krishna consciousness and devotional service is so powerful that with it one can have all other perfections of religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and even the attainment of liberation from material existence.
Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So happiness derived from Krishna consciousness is that one can have all other perfections of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and even Moksha. And then, yeah, next paragraph.
Actually, a pure devotee does not aspire after any of these perfections because happiness derived from devotional service in Krishna consciousness is so transcendental, so unlimited that no other happiness can compare to it. It is said that even one of happiness in Krishna consciousness stands beyond comparison with the ocean of happiness derived from any other activity. Thus, any person who have developed a little quality of devotional service can very easily pick out all the other ends of happiness derived from rightness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Correct.
Next paragraph.
Bharadwaj Prabhu.
There was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya known as
Sridhar. Yes.
Sorry, Babuji. Yes.
Go ahead.
Sridhar, who was very poor man. He was doing a small business selling cups made from the leaves of plantain trees, and his income was almost nothing. Still, he was spending 50% of his small income on the worship of the Ganges, and with the other 50% he was somehow living. Lord Chaitanya once revealed himself to this confidential devotee,
Kola Vecha
Kola
Sridhar.
Vecha Sridhara, and offered him any opulence he liked. But Sridhara informed the Lord that he did not want any material opulence. He was quite happy in his present position and wanted only to gain unflinching faith and devotion unto the lotus feet of the Lord Chaitanya. This is the position that is the position of pure devotees. If they can be engaged 24 hours each day in a devotional service, they do not want anything else, not even the happiness of liberation or of becoming one with the Supreme.
So this is a very, very striking example of Kola Vecha Sridhar, that his hut was such that His Holiness Kroknath Swami Maharaj says, generally we go and stay in 5-star hotels, but his hut was multi-star. Why? Because all the stars were visible from his roof. So that was kind of his hut. So, and that was his material status, I mean, very poor in that sense. And what was his earning? He was what was his business? He was selling cups made out of plantain leaves. That is banana leaves. He was making cups or just selling the leaves in, for people. And where he was selling this? In which part of India? In Bengal, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in Navadvip. And in that place, where almost every home has banana plant in their home. So then the business was also not a competitive business, Everyone had banana tree. Then who is going to actually purchase the leaves and cups made out of that? But still there were some people who would need it in extra quantity. So then they would purchase. So that means we can see that the sale was also not much probably. And even after getting such meager amount, after selling all this thing, 50% of that he was spending in worship of Ganges. So very, very striking example, where sometimes we feel that maybe Rupa Goswami was so rich, that's why maybe 50% he kept aside for Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. But Kola Vichar Sridhar was so poor, still he offered the 50% of it for the worship of Mother Ganges. So that is a standard such great devotees are following. And he was constantly engaged in devotional service. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked that please ask for benediction, he said, I don't want anything. Can you imagine? The Supreme Lord, who is master of all the Lakshmi, who is master of all the opulences, he can award anything. He can award anything. And such Lord, when he's saying that you ask anything, Sridhar, and he's saying, no, I don't want anything. I am simply satisfied in your devotional service. So what does that tell devotees? It tells that the happiness of devotional service is so great that one doesn't desire even liberation. He's not even saying that, oh my Lord, please let me get liberated and go back to Godhead into your dham. That was also not his asking. He's simply saying, let me always be engaged in your service. So that is the power of devotional service. That is the happiness derived from devotional service. That one doesn't want anything of this material world, including liberation. Yes, last paragraph.
In Narada Pancharatra, it is also said that any person who has developed even a small amount of devotional service doesn't care a fig for any kind of happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, or the 5 kinds of liberation. Any kind of happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, liberation, or sense gratification cannot even dare to enter into the heart of a pure devotee. It is stated that as the personal attendants and maid servants of the queen follow the queen with all respect and obeisances, similarly, the joys of religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation follow the devotional service of the Lord. In other words, a pure devotee does not lack any kind of happiness derived from any source. He does not want anything but service to Krishna. But even if he should have another desire, the Lord fulfills this without the devotees asking.
So, Mukti Mukulitanjali Sevate Rasma. Mukti, that is liberation, the personification of liberation, Mukti Devi is standing with her folded hands outside the house of a pure devotee. Please engage me in your service. But devotee is least concerned about Mukti. As Prabhupada is mentioning here, he doesn't care a fig for any kind of happiness derived from dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. And that moksha means 5 kinds of liberation, even going back to Godhead. So devotee is not worried about that also. So that is a standard of pure devotional service. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, Prabhuji, one question, Prabhuji. Sorry for being ignorant, but if a devotee gets liberated, he'll get an opportunity to directly serve the personal form of Krishna, right? So why doesn't he choose that? Instead, he even wants to ignore liberation.
That we will understand only when we become devotee. Uh, Actually, the point is that what he is going to do in spiritual world. I am asking you.
I mean, as per my understanding, I feel like we can do service directly to the personal form of God itself, right?
Yeah, but nobody wants to do direct service to the Lord. It is only in our neophyte stage that we want direct service to the Lord. We want direct service to our spiritual master. We want direct service to some great devotee. But in the advanced stage, everyone wants to become Gopi, Bhartuhu, Padakamalayor, Dasa, Dasa, Anudasa. Everyone wants to become servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. So then in that sense, now if you see that why they don't desire to even go, because they are already serving the servants of the servants of the servants here or wherever they go. And that is what they will also do if they are posted in the spiritual world. So for them, it doesn't matter whether they are here or there or anywhere.
Okay.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So then, the last 3 points are remaining. That is I think I did a mistake. This is not 4th, this is 3rd. And the 4th is Sudurlabha. So devotional service is rare. Why it is rare? Why devotional service is rare? So first point is, we cannot get it by our own efforts. And second is, Krishna does not give it cheaply. So now, because these are the 2 features that devotional service cannot be achieved by our own efforts. It can be only achieved by Krishna's mercy. And Krishna does not give his mercy very easily. So that's why devotional service is Sudurlabha. So we see this Damodar Leela. In that, we all know that there are always 2 fingers short. So what are these 2 fingers?
Love and surrender.
No. Damodar Leela, very famous Leela.
Prema and Vatsalya?
No. So what happened in Damodar Leela is, after Yashodamaya was trying to catch Krishna, after she caught Krishna, she was trying to bind Krishna, correct? And every time she was tying the rope was falling 2 fingers short, right? So this was happening again and again. However, ropes she brought, again the two fingers were falling short. So our acharyas give us the explanation that the two fingers are what? No. So she was trying hard, and then finally somehow she could tie the knot. So then acharyas explain that what is these two fingers? One is, yes, Pallavi Mataji has rightly mentioned in the chat, our endeavor and Krishna's mercy. So that is Damodar Lila, the teaching of Damodar Lila. Yashoda Maya did a lot of endeavor to bind Krishna. But who can bind Krishna? He is the supreme lord of all lords. No, that is not possible. But when Krishna himself allowed to bind, then Yashoda Maya could tie that knot. So similarly, here also the same thing is explained. That we cannot get it by our own. So endeavor, you may do lots of endeavor. Still, you will not get devotional service. I mean, devotional service means you may perform the activities of devotional service. But pure devotional service, you will not get. But when Krishna is pleased by seeing your endeavors, when Krishna sees your heart is purified, then he may consider himself to be given. So why Krishna doesn't give it so easily is because when Krishna gives somebody pure devotional service, then he becomes controlled by that devotee. So now this month, Purushottam month is going on, and we sing Chaurashtakam. So in that Chaurashtakam also, Bilva Mangal Thakur is saying the same thing. That Chinatsi Ghoram Yamapasha Bandam, Bhinatsi Bhimam Bhavapasha Bandam, Chinatsi Sarvasya Samasta Bandam, Naivat Manam Bhakta Kurtam Tu Bandam. He's saying that Krishna is such a big person that he can cut off Yamapash, the ropes of Yamaraj. He can cut off Bhavapash. He can cut off the three modes of material nature. He can cut the ropes of three modes of material nature. And Chinatsi Sarvasya Samasta Bandham. He can cut any kind of bondage. He can cut it for himself and for his devotees also. But Naivat Mana Bhakta Kurtam Tu Bandham. But he cannot break that bondage which is created by his devotee. And that's why Krishna doesn't offer it so easily to anyone, because he becomes bound to that devotee. So that's why devotional service is very, very rare. So, second paragraph, you can read the rarity of devotional service.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Please
Awareness of pure devotional service. In the preliminary phase of spiritual life, there are different kinds
the
of...
second paragraph.
Also, the rarity of devotional service is also confirmed in the Tantra Shastra, where Lord Shiva says to Sati, "My dear Sati, if one is a very fine philosopher analyzing the different process of knowledge, he can achieve liberation from the material entanglement. By performance of the ritualistic sacrifices recommended in the Vedas, one can be elevated to the platform of pious activities and thereby enjoy the material comforts of life to the fullest extent. But all such endeavors can hardly offer anyone devotional service to the Lord, not even if one tries for it by such process for many, many thousands of births."
Go ahead.
In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaja that merely by personal efforts or by the instructions of higher authorities, one cannot attain to the stage of devotional service. One must become blessed by the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is completely freed from the contamination of material desires.
Yeah, thank you. Matirna Krishne Paratasvato va Itho Vipatte Grihadatanam Adanta Gobir Krishatam Tamishram. I forgot the last line. So then here this Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Matirna Krishne Paratasvatova. One cannot fix his mind on Krishna by one's own endeavor or by anything else. Only when one bathes himself in the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, then he can be able to fix his mind on Krishna. Yes, last paragraph, somebody can read.
Praveen Prabhu.
Please, please.
In the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, 18th verse, Narada also says to Yudhishthira, "My dear king, it is Lord Krishna, known as Mukunda, who is the eternal protector of the Pandavas and the Yadus. He is also your spiritual master and instructor in every respect. He is the only worshipable God for you. He is very dear and affectionate, and he is the director of all your activities, both individual and familiar. And what's more, he sometimes carry out your orders as if he were your messenger. My dear king, how very fortunate you are, because for others, all these favors given to you by the Supreme Lord would not even be dreamt of. The purport to this verse is that the Lord easily offers liberation, but he rarely agrees to offer a soul devotional service, because by devotional service, the Lord himself become purchased by the devotee.
So you see the second point which we said about Sudarlabha, Krishna does not give it cheaply. Why? Because this is all what Krishna is doing for his dear devotees. He's your spiritual master, instructor in every respect. He's worshipable. But what he is doing? He is acting for you and he's carrying out all your order as if he were your messenger. Just see what all things Krishna did for Pandavas, He became the peace messenger. He became the chariot driver of Arjuna. And then at Rajasuya Yajna, he was washing the feet of all the guests. So can you imagine what all things Krishna is doing for his devotee? So Krishna becomes purchased by the devotee, and that's why he doesn't offer it so easily. He will thoroughly test for the aspiring sadhaka whether he's really wanting me or my energies. We should always remember that story. Just before the Kurukshetra war, Duryodhana and Arjuna went to Krishna, and Duryodhana came first and he sat near the head of the Lord. Arjuna came later and he sat at the feet of the Lord. And when Lord got up, he first saw Arjuna. And Duryodhana said, I came first. But then Krishna said, I saw Arjuna first. And also he is younger than you, so he has got right before you to ask. Then he says, I have come to ask for help in the war. And Duryodhana was a little bit fearful. He also says, yes, I have also come for the same thing. Because he was wanting the whole Narayani Sena. And then Krishna says, okay, because both of you are my relatives, I don't want to, be biased. So I have two things. I'll be there on one side, and other side, Narayani Sena will be there. But I will not fight. And then he gives the choice to Arjuna first. And Duryodhana's heart is pounding. Oh, what if he chooses Narayani Sena? And then Arjuna, without any doubt, without any further thinking, he says, my Lord, you please be with me. And then Duryodhana becomes very happy internally. But externally, he just says, oh, then what can I do? Now I am just left with the Narayani Sena. All right, I'll accept it. But internally, he's very happy that whatever he wanted, he got. But the crux of the story is what? That a devotee always chooses Krishna, not his energies. And that is a very, very important lesson for all of us to going ahead in the life, that we should always try to see whether we are choosing Krishna or his energy, and then make the wise choice. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. So we'll conclude today and this remaining discussion we will do tomorrow. Any question, comment? Okay. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Guru Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.